Hi friends, welcome back. It's Melanie with Melanie Stamps, and today we are going to dive into the world of the Envelope of Wonder. This collection is amazing, and there are so many ideas I want to share with you today about it. So let's take a look. As you can see here, I have been blessed with three of the sets by Spellbinders. They sent these sets to me to play with, and this first set is the set that comes with the envelope itself. You get the envelope making dies, as you can see there on my desk, and then all of Floral dies. And then there's three extra sets that you can purchase as add-ons. And this one here is the fall collection, which you can see you can use it completely on its own. You do not have to have the envelope set to use this gorgeous die, these gorgeous dies. But this envelope set comes with all of those florals. And as you can see, I have been playing. All the dies are missing. They're there on my desk on the right. But I have been having so much fun layering and making my own florals out of this set, as you will see here towards the end of the video. But I'm going to show you in this video today so many different ways on how to use these, both with the envelope and without the envelope. I'm going to give you as many ideas as I can so you can see and decide for yourself if these are for you or not. Now here is the full collection. I was given the top two. The bottom two are the other add-ons. There's Halloween and Christmas. Here's samples that Spellbinders have on the website showing you all the different ways that they have used the envelope, filling it with all the different die cuts. Now I've went a little different in my designing, and there are two different, well no, they're similar. They're the same exact stamp, or not stamp set, but sentiment set. You can get one that's the better press with the press plates and dies. As you can see here, I've done all of them. And I chose the better press set. Or you can also get them as a stamp and die if you would prefer the stamps over the better press. So I actually have a reel or a short video on my YouTube. If you'd like to check that out, I show you how to maximize your A2 paper when you're using your better press. So make sure to check that out. It's like a 45-minute short. Now today we're going to be adding these two embossing folders. I do link those below. And I always tell you guys to shop your stash. So this is the paper I'm using as inspiration today. This is a pack of paper I got years ago. I think I got it from Tuesday Morning. I just looked through my stash and found something with pretty florals in it. And then I went through my Spellbinders papers and I picked colors that I felt worked. And that's what I just sat down and started die cutting from. So we're going to put these aside and we are going to start working on our first envelope. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make this envelope. I also added this foil paper from Tonic. I love their mirror card. It's just a given. Mirror card is my favorite. So now I wanted a little glitter, a little glam, so I just added it. So let's start with card number 1. And just so you guys know, I have got 2 bonus cards at the end of this video. So if you could hang out with me while we make these first 2 cards, I would love to share my last 2 cards with you at the end. So we are going to make the envelope cards first. This first one here, I am just showing you here that I have cut the 3 pieces for the envelope out of pattern paper. Then I've cut the large die out of this white paper. This is for the back of the envelope, and I'm going to emboss this with a 3D embossing folder. Now, if you look closely, this embossing folder really coordinates with my pattern paper. I thought it was so cool that this old piece of pattern paper that I found in my stash went perfectly with this embossing folder I had. So I am embossing this back piece to give the envelope a liner look, so, to make it like stepped up, to give it this dimensional background because I'm not planning on filling this envelope to the hilt like on the cover. I'm going to let this embossed background show through so we have some white space on our card. I thought that would be a different way of showing you how to use this. And, not everybody loves the full craziness of, a super full card. Plus, it takes a lot of time and a lot of die cutting to make a card like that. I thought simplistic was more the direction I wanted to go here. So that's what I did, and you can let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you a all or nothing kind of girl, or do you like things a little calmer, a little more white space? I can go both directions, but for this, I saw, the samples on the website and on the packaging all showed it really full. I just wanted to show a different way of being able to use this. So I went a little more simplistic on these envelopes. So there are score lines that are put into these pieces for you. All I did was use my score pal and just slightly score them just a tiny bit more so that they would score really crisply. I'm adding the red liner tape to the tabs on all three pieces here. I just think that is a more secure glue, and it's less messy for your envelope so that you don't have any seepage coming out all your edges for your envelope, especially if you want to use this envelope to mail with, which I'll show you here in a minute when we're done making this one. But I have a one made with 110-pound cardstock, and it is perfectly strong enough to go through the mail. So I will show you that here in a second. So all you're going to do is line these up along the edges of your back piece. I do use my Teflon bone folder to give it a really nice strong crease. That way that tape really grabs and it's really super duper strong. And lining these up is a piece of cake. They don't overlap. This is really well made, as in the sizing of everything. So it fits together beautifully. I think I made 3 or 4 of them, and each one came out perfect. There is a little slit in the larger piece there, the flap on the bottom, so that if you do score the top of the envelope, you can tuck it in, which I think is really cool. And I'll show you that in the white one here in a few minutes also, so you can see how that works. Isn't that adorable? So I'm going to use a thin 1/8 inch here of a double-sided adhesive. I'm also using my Teflon coated scissors there from Spellbinders with this sticky adhesive so I don't get any on my scissors. But this just closes up. Easy peasy, and your envelope is made. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love the way that turned out. Now, here's the finished one. That's white. That was my prototype that I made first. And there's this extra die here that you can cut out and do a reinforcement there along the edge. And I've added it in white on that one. And it makes it super tough. And you can mail it right there, put your address on it, and pop that in the mail. These are adorable envelopes. For little note cards, they could be on gift bags. There's lots of uses for these. So here we're going to assemble some of the flowers. These flowers are adorable. I had so much fun with this. And on these, I'm just doing 1 layers. In my bonus cards at the end, I'll show you how I've doubled up all my cardstock. But on these first 2 cards, I've done mostly single layer die cuts. So I'm just showing you again more ways to use your products. That to me is important, especially when you're investing in an item. How many ways can you use it? Is it something you'll use? Is it something you'll get your money's worth out of. Those are all things I like to ask myself when I'm shopping, and I think it's important to think about. So when I saw this set, I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many ways that we can use this. And I didn't even scratch the surface, guys. I only made 4 cards, but in these 4 cards, there's just so much. I had so much fun. This is a good one. I'm really proud of these 4 cards. I had fun with matching these colors up with the papers. I really enjoy doing that to get my mojo and my juices going, having the papers to go by. So I am just sticking the layers. And with these flowers, you can kind of make your own flowers. Like the pieces mix and match. So there's not just the one way or the highway kind of thing. There's different little pieces that can go inside of other pieces or other flowers. And there's these little tiny leaves that I love. I did them out of the foil. And I thought the little flowers came out so cute with the little foil leaves. And then I end up putting gems in the center of them. I just thought they turned out so cute. And this red one, I think if I'm not mistaken, I end up putting a silver, the silver embellishments there on the right is what I end up putting in. Because on these 2 cards, or on the ones that I used the florals on, I went with silver accents. And then the ones I used for the fall cards, I went with gold accents. So I stuck with one or the other depending on which color scheme I went with. If you guys do not have a gem picker like this, and you want to get into these styles of die cuts, let me tell you, that little thing is amazing. That one I'm using there is the Gina K one. There is one also on the Spellbinders website too. I have not tried it yet, but I've seen it being used. The Gina K one I got on Simon Says Stamps, and I believe I have it linked in the description under my favorite tools. So I have links for my favorite tools and my favorite consumables in the links below. The things that I find are the best that I use are all down there. See those little silver? Those little silver centers are just perfect. And that one there has a silver center that I cut from Mirror Card also. Something else when I'm designing that I like to do is if I'm using multiple colors like this, I always try to use each color at least twice. It might just be a thing for me, but I find that designing, I like to know that each color is being used twice. Is that even a thing? I don't know. That is a Melanie thing. For my eye, I just feel like it gives it a cohesive feel. And to me, it's not finished unless it has at least 2 areas. Like, for instance, the pink center of that flower, the light pink center. I had to use that light pink somewhere else in the card. And I ended up using it in the little tiny dots in that one that I used the gem picker for. So things like that, if it just makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like the design is finished if everything is used at least twice. So it's just something to think about when you're designing. Try it one way and then try it another. Or if anything feels off to you, think about that and see if that could be why. So there's my layout. That's what I'm going for. And now I'm just going to glue everything down. So you see, I didn't fill all the white space like the examples show. I'm leaving the white space. I want my embossing folder to show. I want people to see that gorgeous embossed background that's back there. It's gorgeous. It matches my pink envelope and everything coordinates so nicely and it makes it look designer. So I wanted it to look stepped up and designer looking. So that's just the way it went, and that's how it turned out. And that was just the way it worked out. So you'll have to let me know what you think. So we're just going to glue the last little things. A couple of these did go off the edge of the paper. I just felt like it felt more organic like that. We are going to put this envelope on a 5x7 card base. So them going off the edge like that isn't going to matter in the least. So I'm just kind of tucking these in where I want them. I ended up pulling up that first long leaf that I put in there just to tuck that little tiny one back behind there. And it's hard to tell, but that one I'm about to put in is a foiled one, a foiled leaf. And then I just have those ones on the left-hand side to put in. And this envelope will be finished. So out of the 4 cards today, I would absolutely love if you would tell me which of the 4 is your favorite. If you could leave me a message down below and let me know, I would love your feedback. I have 2 that are actually with envelope and 2 without the envelope. So I would love to see what everybody's feedback is. If they like the summery ones, if they like the fall ones, if they like it with envelope, without envelope. Is there an idea or an aha moment that you got from the video that helped? Any feedback like that is always welcome. It will just help me with future videos to know the types of things that you guys are enjoying from time to time. There we go. Last one. Okay. Now, I have got some 12 by 12 papers from the collection there on my left, and I'm going to pull them in screen. And at this point, I had not decided which colors I was going to use. I just knew I was using this color palette. So I immediately knew that white one was out because it was too much white. This one was quite busy. So I was leaning towards this, the turquoise back. That white one was out of here. So I decided on using these 2. And I went ahead and cut my card base down. And here we are about to attach. So I'm going to get my cutter out of there and attach these down. I just left a thin layer of that pattern around the edge just to pull in all the colors that I have in the florals. I thought that was just enough to coordinate all the colors together. And I'm also thinking in my head, because at this point I've already designed the other card, the bonus card, which you haven't seen yet, of course. And I'm also coordinating it in my head to the bonus card. So I have a method to my madness as to why I'm choosing the ones I'm choosing, because I would like them to look cohesive in the finished photograph. So that is also in the back of my mind. But when you use the same pattern paper collection, they usually do end up looking like that. So I'm just going to leave that at a little bit of an angle. And I already have an idea who is receiving a couple of these cards, because I have a function I'm going to at the end of the month. And I think I'm going to be sharing these cards with some friends at those functions. So that's why I'm choosing specific sentiments here. And I was showing there that I cut that sentiment out using the outline die out of white paper 2 extra times to make that thicker, so it wouldn't be so flimsy when I layered it there on the center of the card. And I thought that space right in the center there was perfect for my final sentiment. So here's a close-up look at card number 1. And there we go. One way to use your envelope. You can put it on the front of a 5x7 card. Now, card number 2. On this one, I embossed a piece of gold foil card with a different embossing folder, but instead of using it as the full background of the card, I decided to cut a black envelope, and I sliced just 1/8 of an inch or so off of either side of that envelope of the gold and made a liner for the black envelope. So that's why there's a little black edge all the way around. I just slid it down, and now we're going to close up our envelope. So this way you have a black border around the liner, if that makes sense. It just shows you a different way to make the envelope. And in this instant, it just made it, look even a little more stepped up. And I thought the gold was perfect for fall. So that's what I did. And for those corners, I did use my scissors and just kind of fussy cut the gold just a little bit on the corners of the liner, just so they would round the corners just a little bit. Now here I am going ahead and attaching this, because this is going to be a stand-up card, and this back portion will show if someone turns it around. So I am adding a black the detail here on the back of the envelope. So if someone turns to the back of the card when we're done, they will see this pretty edge that coordinates with the liner. Isn't that neat? So I'm just lining it up so it doesn't show on the front, making sure all the edges are even. And then we'll close up our envelope, making sure it's all secure. Okay. Now on this one, I have made these die cuts just out of regular, these ones on the front of the envelope. I decided to decorate the outside of the envelope on this one. And I've made these just out of solid cardstock for these. So I'm just going to arrange these and glue them onto the outside. I just love the mushrooms. The mushrooms, the gourds, I just love them. Fall colors have always been fun for me though. Something about the fall. Everything changing. That's why I love fall and spring, actually. All the change. It's amazing how God created the seasons. Just showing you the detail. That red is kind of a textured paper. And the mushrooms have so many layers that it really does give dimension. So I'm just layering these and making a nice little collage down there at the bottom of my envelope. And with the black backdrop, it really makes it striking. I love the little swirly. Now, the dies do give you one that doesn't have a swirly also, so you can make the pumpkin without it. So there's 2 ways there that you can do that. And I move this up just a little bit so that that's above the mushroom. Now, for my other leaves, I have taken multiple dye inks in the fall colors, and I used sponge brushes, and I inked paper. I just took my sponge brushes and I just inked and inked and inked and inked. They're Altenew Crisp inks. These are the colors. And I just inked my paper, and there's my samples of what I inked. And then I just die cut them out randomly, and now I have these one-of-a-kind inked little fall leaves, just like they're changing colors. And I'm just going to sporadically layer them on the gold leaf embossed liner as if they're falling from the sky. And we're just going to arrange those and glue them down. And that will be the end of our card. Now for this card, while I'm doing that, I am going to give you the measurements for the little actual card itself. I put them on the screen here in a minute. But if you take a piece of paper or a card base weight paper and you cut yourself a tiny note card that fits the back of the envelope, then you'll attach it to the back of the envelope and your envelope will stand up and it'll turn the envelope into a card. And it'll also allow your envelope to stand up so that your recipient can put it on display. And that's what I show you here after we glue these down. And then I give you the measurements to cut and score on your screen here in a moment, so that you can do that. And here again, it's just another way to use your envelope wisely. I just love the way the leaves turned out. And it's so easy. It's such an easy technique to just ink up paper and die cut it out. It's easy, but it's so effective. You do have to be careful when you're cutting those die cuts though, because those little detail cuts in them do cut all the way through the paper. So if you cut it the wrong way, the paper does fall apart. So just be careful when you're cutting and snipping your die cuts apart like I do here. Just be super careful that you don't cut along the cut into the paper that the die cut actually makes. But I just did that to fill the little tiny spaces. I do one little more there on the left-hand side and it'll be done. Just to fill the space, but still plenty of gold showing to get the effect of the liner. There we go. So now I'm just going to show you here real quick. I was just measuring there to get an idea of what I would need for my card base. And then I cut a card base real quick. And it's actually, I messed up there just a little bit. It should be 6.5, not 6 inches. So I did mess up there on camera, but the measurements I gave you there are correct. It's 6.5 by 4, scored at 6 1/4. And then what I'm showing you here is what will happen. Is you end up with a card base that opens like that and it will stand on its own. So that's the point. So just use the measurements that I've given you. Now, bonus cards. So these are the two we've made. Now let me show you the other two. Here's the fall one. And now on this, I have doubled up all of my die cuts. Everything is doubled. The black embossed piece is doubled for extra strength. That die cut in the, that embossing folder in the back set these die cuts off. I've used the diamond frames for the center there, and it just turned out great. Here's the bonus for this one, for the summer card. I've made a frame using one of Becca Fegan's die sets. I have the 3D embossing, and I use the deboss sides of these embossing folders so that everything would glue flat. And here again, I've doubled up all my die cuts. I've used foil sentiments also. So let me know, 1, 2, 3, or 4, what's your favorite? See you next time.